Hey everybody, it's Jay Elizabeth. Jimmy Alice, Jay Elizabeth, whatever you want to call me. I didn't realize that bag was back there. But today we're going to talk about, um, as the title says, the black sheep of the family and Little Miss Perfect or Little Mr. Perfect. Now I can talk about this because I am the latter. People all my life my father. So I had one of those parents that were like encouraging, but in a way that was like not exactly normal. Not now that I'm reading more books, a lot of like other cultures call their children perfect and things like that. But more so if they're like, the book that I read is about Jewish mothers. So specifically, Jewish mothers call their children perfect, and that's why they excel a lot, according to this book. And it's like telling everybody everybody can parent like a Jewish mother, and I kind of like the book. I really like the book. I'm not gonna lie. I'll actually put it in the comments below if you're interested. But growing up, my dad called me perfect a lot. Like he would tell everybody that we were perfect, and honestly, I didn't even realize he was telling everybody, like the family members, like our cousins and things, like, oh yeah, no, my kids are perfect. Oh, but it's like I think he was saying it so there weren't any further questions, but everybody just kind of took his word for it. So when we would come around, people would kind of not want to be around us or try to fight me specifically. So it's like I took on the burden of perfect. And when it comes to the black sheep, even though black sheep can be considered the one that was like the perfect child or the one that's like the child that misbehaves, it's important to see that you have some commonalities, or we have some commonalities. The only reason it's important is because we all want validation. And the point of life is to learn what you need to learn to start creating the life that fits you and then encourage other people to do it. Now, maybe that's just my definition of the purpose of life. But honestly, what else would you define the purpose of life is? I know a lot of people say that they don't know and they don't venture to find out. But in my opinion, it's just make the world better, because the other options make the world worse, considering we're all working together as a whole. And that's the reason why I'm making this video. Also, just because we're different or in any way, whether it's you've been called bad your whole life or you've been called perfect your whole life, just because you're different doesn't mean you have to put yourself in a victim role. You know, like when people say things like must be nice, when people say things like, oh, you had an easy life, when people say things like whatever they're saying, and it feels like they're minimizing the experiences that you probably have in common, why take it personal? There's a book called The Four Agreements, and one of the agreements is not taking things personal, and the second is I'm not doing it in order, but another one is do your best at things. So another book we should put in our repertoire is called The Big Leap, and they tell you four different low power. They tell you four different four different hidden barriers that you should be looking out for. And this helped me a lot. This helped a lot of people, whether they consider themselves a normal person, a black sheep, or a perfect individual. The whole thing is we all have the same issues. It's just some people live in positive ways that bring positive outcomes, or it looks positive. Like usually the black sheep becomes like a jokester. So like now they're just joking about everything and it seems like nothing's bothering them. And the four hidden barriers are: one, feeling fundamentally flawed; two, disloyalty and abandonment; 3, more success brings a bigger burden. And 4, fear of outshining others. So if you fear outshining others because you've been told your whole life that you're this bad person, or you've been told your whole life that you think you're better than everybody, and both of those come across as bullying because somebody's like telling you you're not like everybody else. I'm not going to minimize it and say, so what? But at some point, you got to get to the point where it's like, so what? What that means is you're a leader. That's all. You're not like everybody else. And you should kind of do your best to adapt that into your day to day and into your mind. I was not called bad. I was not called terrible child. Was I a fucking terrible child? Yes. So it's crazy that I was called perfect so much. But or it's crazy that people's idea of me is so perfect because I was doing the most. Like I wasn't the best. Like I wasn't running away doing things outside of the house. But in the house, I was not like the most well-behaved child, calm, relaxed. I wasn't like ideal. So, yeah, to be called anything other than normal, yeah, it sucks. But what that means is you need to take the position that you've been given or not, it's just an option. But take your role seriously. This is a good thing. That means you have a lot to offer the world that they can't get without you. So you honestly be doing the world a disservice if you didn't show up as the black sheep and explain who you are. But you got to figure out who you are at that. So on the perfect side of things, it's I was a quiet kid because I didn't really make that many friends. And the friends that I did make, they kind of just came to me. So I was just like, all right, cool, whatever. You can stay in my area. I kind of like you. But it was really because I was mean, like because I always felt like somebody was trying to fight me, because they needed to prove to themselves that they were better. You know that uh, feeling of a guy explained it to me, two guys explained it to me, like you got to prove that you're the, I guess we'll use the term alpha. You got to prove that you're the alpha. But these are boys. Like, I only grew up with my brothers, two brothers, and they never put their hands on me. They would fight each other, yes, but they would never like put their hands on me. And they would never like try to compete with me because it just didn't make sense to me or to them, I guess. They were older. And then I had younger sisters. And when my younger sisters tried to like do that, only when they tried though, I would just beat them up because it's like, what are you doing? Calm down. Let's get it back in line. Let's understand this is not what we're doing. I'm gonna just beat you up in the name of love and then call it a day. And then cousins too. I would have to beat up my cousins. Like, why? And I'm also a tall person. So I'm 5'11" now and I'm 31. And my cousins, I think the cousins that used to fight me, they did fight me, were usually my age or like a 2 years gap. And even when I first met one of my sisters that my dad had during his marriage, the first day she came to the home, and you don't consciously assert your dominance, but she said something disrespectful to me and I didn't understand who she thought she was. And it's almost like the black sheep and the Miss Perfect and Mr. Perfect. It's like, who do you think you are? And it's like, I'm a human being in an area that is maybe new, or this is new grounds. I'm in a new circumstance, like speaking to an adult, and I have an opinion. That's it. So all those times that your parents and your elders, or whatever you want to call them, your cousins, your young cousins, when people challenged you in your independence, either violently or just telling you to be quiet and sit down and don't try to outshine other people, especially your elder, and don't be a burden. And if you do, I'm not gonna love you, or I'm not gonna treat you kindly, or I'm gonna abandon you, or it felt like they said that, or they're saying there's something wrong with you. Like you have clearly there's something wrong with you, a mental thing or anything. Like just because that happened in your past doesn't make it true. Like it sucks because when you're young, you just take on everything that your elders say, especially like if you respect them. Even if you respect them out of fear, you take on what they say. I'm grateful that my dad spoke so much good over me, but it gives you, for me, as Little Miss Perfect, it gave me this like demeanor that I had to be Little Miss Perfect. But it's like people are pushing me to show them more so they can copy me mostly because they've ran out of things to copy. So when you are in this position, in my opinion, I'm not saying be disingenuous, be genuine, but also be strategic. Like write down your next 5 big things that you're gonna do when you trust yourself after you've gotten past these issues with the big leap. And actually, you can look on YouTube and find the big leap summary. You can also Google it if you prefer reading, and they'll give you a quick rundown of the summary. But it's, you gotta stop sabotaging your joy and the positivity that tries to come into your life. And therapy helps. That book definitely helps. It gives you a lot of information. I feel like personally being aware of what happens in those times of sabotaging can help you stop doing it. So I wrote down a couple of the things that happen when you're trying to sabotage your joy. And one of the things is you might get sick. Like your body's trying to physically prevent you from being too positive, too happy, too high, too excited. Because remember, you're Little Miss Perfect, you're the black sheep, like you're different. And different isn't normally good. But that's the point. You kind of have to shift that in your mind. Different is the best. Who wins? The creators. Who's different? The black sheep. Little Miss Perfect. Little Miss Perfect usually have the most creative energy in the world, the greatest opinions, because we've been observing everybody, all the normal people for so long. And you can continue to observe them. Who says your observations are done? Like life is not over. So why not keep going? Another thing is you'll tend to argue. You'll tend to lie, deflect, or brush off compliments, or start criticizing people and blaming people. And yeah, I see a lot of those in me. And for some reason, people are like, oh, but she's perfect. It's fine. She's perfect. And when does everyone say that they're perfect? In my opinion, because if I'm the same as majority of people, I'm just quiet, so you just assume everything's perfect. When does everybody be quiet, hermit mode, monk mode, and just get their stuff together and be perfect too? Or be honest about their flaws and their issues and then claim the title perfect too. And I say this because being different is weird. And I'm just now, literally just now, as I'm going live every day until my birthday, realizing like it doesn't matter if I'm different. If y'all want me to be perfect, then I'll be perfect. But I'm still gonna be me. And I guess I just get to show you more sides of me, mostly on Patreon if it's inappropriate, because I still believe in time and place. Call me modest, conservative, whatever you need to. But even the worst person in the world, I'm sure I have something in common with. It's like I was not that good of a person. And then people want to be validated that they're a good person. I chose to become a good person after growing up, mostly because I understand consequences. When I was a kid, I would steal from my dad thousands of dollars all the time and lie, and I was bad in the house, not outside the house. It just didn't make sense outside the house. Nobody loved me outside the house. They could send me to jail outside the house. So when I grew up and went outside the house, I had no choice but to be a participant in life. So you have to, so now after I've just showed you my interpretation of my past and my life and how I grew up out of it, and I'm still growing up out of it, because I mean, it's an onward journey. You don't just get, well, Little Miss Perfect. You don't just, I don't know. You don't just defeat the boss first try. You know, you don't just defeat the boss as soon as you see that there's a boss level. So as soon as you get past your story, try and rewrite it. I'll give you an example. I am a good person because I like when people feel good. Like, I like seeing other people feel good. But I have to work on making sure I feel good first, and making sure there's always consent, and making sure I'm living the life that I want to live, regardless of who's feeling like I have it easier, or I have it better, or I have it this way, that way, yada, 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 because this is my life. So I wrote a book. It's called Jimmy Alice's Arc. Feel free to check it out. It's on my website, jelizabeth.com. I will put it in the description below. I'm pretty sure it's actually down there already. But hit the like button, and don't take it personal that they're not brave enough to be different, whether it's in an extremely bad way or misunderstood, or an extremely perfect way and misunderstood, because you're just being quiet. And people misunderstand a lot of things when you're being quiet because they just want to assume things. And also, don't assume things. All right, guys. Later.